Hello, friends. We are in a troubling time when it comes to misinformation. The views of our guests do not reflect that of my own. This show is for entertainment purposes only, and any information presented during this show is a live-action role-play scenario. All that being said, enjoy this episode.
I think it's just going to get weirder and weirder and weirder, and finally it's going to be so weird that people are going to have to talk about how weird it is. Eventually people are going to say, what the hell is going on? It's not enough to say it's nuts, you have to explain why it's so nuts. The invention of artificial life, the cloning of human beings, possible contact with extraterrestrials, the systems which are in place to keep the world sane are utterly inadequate to the forces that have been unleashed.
Welcome back to Forbidden Knowledge News. I'm your host, Chris Matthew. Today my guest is Brandon Thomas. First, check out Brainsupreme. If you're looking to start your microdosing journey with the highest quality ingredients, visit their website using the link below and you'll get 15% off your entire order. Brainsupreme. Learn more about all the quality ingredients at their website. Use that link right in the description. Also, watch the Forbidden documentary, Occult Louisiana. That's on Tubi and multiple streaming platforms. It's a great way to help support Forbidden Knowledge News and our upcoming productions. Also, get a Rokfin premium membership, rokfin.com/FKN Plus. You'll get access to all our premium content and all the premium content from every creator on Rokfin. Also, be sure to download our podcast episodes directly through Spreaker if you're listening through any audio podcast platform. We are booking guests for February and March. If you have suggestions or you'd like to be a guest, email me forbiddenknowledgenews@gmail.com. Today, I want to welcome back to the show Brandon Thomas. He is producer and host of Expanding Reality podcast. He is a seeker, philosopher, musician, rancher, avid idea hunter, and lover of all things fascinating. Brandon, welcome back. How you doing?
Every day above ground's a great day phenomena. How are you? How you been?
I can't complain. It's been pretty phenomenal here. I'm looking forward to getting weird with you today. This is our first discussion of 2025, and already 20 days in, it's a doozy. But, you know, for the past decade, I've learned more than I have in all my previous years, but I still have more questions and answers. And I can also look back at the years previous to 2020, before I really started my journey of spiritual awareness. It almost seems like someone else's life. One thing I am almost 100% convinced of is that the way we perceive our reality is reflected back on us, and it becomes the lens from which we view things. And just like different shades of sunglasses, we can adjust our perspective. For me, it took lots of healing, shadow, and inner work, but my perspective is still constantly shifting and evolving based on where I'm at mentally, emotionally, and spiritually, as well as the way I perceive the mechanics of this reality and beyond. And I also firmly believe that the problems we're currently facing as a collective stem from centuries of perception management, which in our modern age is becoming automated by technology, involuntary human experimentation, and MK Ultra operations, which have been altering humanity on many levels for a long time. And for folks like us looking for that exit matrix sign, the answer becomes pretty clear: sovereignty and self-reliance. And we discuss this often, and we really hope everyone listening will not only start discussing sovereignty and how to pull up our big boy pants and stop relying on these systems, but also implementing these new foundations that we could create for sovereign communities and systems. There's a lot we can unpack just from that. But before we do, just remind everybody where they can find you.
Much love, Chris. Beautifully said, dude. That is so cool. You offer your guests such a great opportunity to really put them in the space of where we're going to be. And it's just beautiful. You help your guests with that as well. I mean, dude, fucking incredible. Good to see you.
Oh, thank you,
Good to
sir.
see everybody. Yeah. Jen's birthday yesterday. Happy birthday, Jen. Shout out. Solar Return. So you can find me at all the things everywhere podcasts are served and enjoyed. Also the Instagram there, TikTok, because it never went away. I never deleted my account or gave anybody a sign-off video and told them how sad I was it was going away, because I just didn't think it was good. I do think something happened there, but we don't have to go into that. TikTok's still over there. The YouTubes, all of that kind of stuff. Patreon, so where's that, guys? We have a value exchange program going on over there, so you can choose a level. At a certain one, you get to hang out with us. We had 2 big hangouts this weekend with Larry Paul and Janine Burgess, a phenomenal artist. The one that did the bee on the cover for the journal, and she is incredible, and we're talking to her about doing workshops and stuff like that. So we had a whole cool thing like that. Nice. Highly recommend you guys come join us over there on Patreon. Recommend you join as a free member over there anyway. There's plenty of free shit over there that's ad-free, as far as I know. So just go ahead and check it out rather than a YouTube, and we can get the whole gang over there. You don't have to pay a dime. So, but if you want to, it's a lot of fun. But it's good to see you, dude. It's really good to see you. It's been a wild fucking ride lately, man.
It has been, and maybe we could start with some of the things that are happening that everybody can observe and dissect it from there before we get too deep of any understandings of the way we perceive things, because even though we don't participate with a lot of the nonsense unfolding, we still observe it because aspects of it will affect our lives in some way or another, depending on how much we are reliant on some of those systems. Some of us still have to be in some ways. And I think it's important to bring up the possibilities of what we could face, just so that we are aware that these are some possibilities, because we bring different perspectives to the table than anyone else and vice versa. So what are your thoughts on the insanity from UFOs and Diddy parties to orange emperors taking over the world and reclaiming lands and everything else that could be occurring in our near future?
Very observant, very broad, beautifully brought into. Okay, so at a zoomed out level, the furthest we can zoom out, this place I feel is a distillery causing reactions here that cause growth and expansion. So, but when we zoom in a little bit, we can see that that's microcosmed based on what I would call or refer to as a soul narrative. So based on your soul narrative, your paradigm, right? Your experiences and beliefs, that's what combine to make your paradigm, are what are fueling the type of insanity you are seeing in the world, and especially whatever your fears and excitements are. Both of those things are usually pretty tied together. Some scary things are exciting. This is why haunted houses and scary movies are a thing, right? So you have all of this combining to a pivotal point astrologically. If you look at if you refer it to a Veda cycle, coming to the end of something really dark, going into something nice, and that's still allegedly about 1,000 so years off, depending on who you ask. But there's just so many things collapsing right now at the same time, and I think that's the word for it. Really, is it's collapsing. It's all falling down. And I think at a deep level, zoomed out, all of the things here are to wake you up. They are to show you that this place is fucking crazy. It's inverted reality out there. So if you've been offering that your attention, you've been getting that back. And now is the time more than ever to see that, recognize it, seize it, return your power to yourself so that you can live in honor and act accordingly. Because everybody feels this in their soul. As the system collapses around them, you're potentially feeling a little bit of fear, and that's okay. That fear is alchemized then into a motivating force to move forward positively, depending on how you do the work, right? But I think that now is a pivotal time. I think that in the near future, we're going to see a lot of crazy shit. And there's been some people, and if you're an empath out there, and the last few months of your life or whatever have been a little heavy, I know the holidays play into this, but it's been a little bigger and more noticeable. And I think there's a lot of people shaking their heads out there right now that we feel as empaths sort of a wave of something coming before it happens, right? So it seems like there's something pretty big, pretty substantial, pretty opportunistic for lizard turds, but To that, what that really is an opportunity for all of us to see what the next level up opportunity is. Because I don't believe in problems. I believe in opportunities in disguise. And that's how I refer to such things, because I'm doing my best, right? So within all that, I would say that some crazy shit's coming, but now has never been more important to figure out what's important to you, where you want to go, what direction, because you don't know how to get there and all those kind of things. You don't have to be that specific with it, but really figure out what's important to you, what your priorities are, and where your energy's going. And it's, again, never been more important to recognize that and inventory that. So yes, I think a lot of crazy things are occurring and happening and will continue pretty substantially, but I'm not a fear mongerer, but I am an empower mongerer. So we'll go with that.
Based on my observations, the systems, what we rely on that the, as you put it, lizard turds have provided for us, the whole matrix construct, really, the past few years has become a big platter of poo-poo, really. And from everything from the medical industry, education, entertainment business, what we are being offered is the quality is substantially lower, and it's not even like each year it gets substantially lower. Now it's every day we notice this degradation of something that we used to rely on, we used to be a part of, we used to enjoy being a part of and participating in for whatever reasons. Now there's no more enjoyment in any of it, and there's no reason that they have to offer the enjoyment for whatever reason that is unfolding. We can get into that, why they're not even offering us dog turds with a strawberry on top. At least it's just pure dog turds. It's like, this is what you have, either take it or leave it. And to me, that is just saying that there's something out there, whether it is the parasitic lizard people or a force beyond them. Something is forcing the people to make this choice, whether we're going to live in a world of shit platters every day, or we're going to check out of the shit platter world and form our own reality with hopefully no shit platters anywhere. And things seem to be progressively getting so bad that the choice is obvious, but there's unfortunately people who just enjoy the convenience of having a shit platter served to them, and they don't want to leave that reality, and that's okay. They can stay there, but that is what I read from everything, from a bigger picture, from everything I've learned, is that we're presented the two choices, like in a choose your own adventure story. We have only the choices that are presented to us, just like in the game, but one is obviously better than the other. So are we going to choose the shit platter, or are we going to choose something better? I think that's what it's really all about right now.
Dude, you fucking nailed this. I'm just like smiling my ass off the whole time I'm sitting here. There's a saying in Texas, I'm sure it's other places, but in Texas we say, if you mix 5 pounds of ice cream and 5 pounds of shit, you have 10 pounds of shit, right? So the idea here also is that all of these things are sugar-coated. Oh, but safety. You know, we do this under the guise of safety, guys. We're removing your liberties under safety. They're just adding more and more amounts of shit to the ice cream that's there. Now, it may be banger ice cream, but it is null and void the second one drop of turd hits it, right? In my mind. Now, a lot of people have acquired the taste for shit. I just haven't. And so, yes, sir, you are absolutely right to this point. Now, the two choices we do have, and you're absolutely right, are sovereignty and self-reliance, self-governance, right? Realizing that nobody's coming to save you, but you do have a wonderful opportunity in community, and you can really do some dope shit here. Or you get safety, the illusion of safety, I'm going to say very honestly. And then you get it handed to you, and it has to be by their rules, under their jurisdiction, which is most important to that. Because then you're considered property in that system. So it's still slavery, guys. It just changed, right? 13th Amendment abolished physical slavery. 14th Amendment installed the Constitution, the citizenship, which then just is voluntary servitude. So you are still a slave, but you're signing up for it. But You didn't know that, but that's okay because you can learn that. And I'm definitely here to help with that. So out of those two choices, yes, self-reliance is challenging because you've got to do it yourself. But if you're honest with yourself, and here's leading to the exact point you made, because this is a point I've been making for a while, and I'm so fucking glad you said this, dude, is things out there are getting obviously shittier, right? The amount of shit being poured into it is not even behind your back anymore. It's not like they're just masking it with other flavors and just giving it to you, like pouring it over there. They're like, a dude is standing on the edge of this thing and taking a shit in the vat while it's being stirred, and there's a spigot right there, and they're like, yeah, come on, right here. That is how obvious it is. So I think this is done intentional and on purpose, and it's absolutely ramped up. I've referred to it like this. I've said, man, the lizard turds go out and they go, okay, we're doing this to your kids in school. And people are like, oh, don't do that. Oh. And then they get upset and they're like, are they finally going to overthrow us? Are they finally? And then they go backstage and then nothing happens. And then parents still send their kids to school and aren't organizing in these unschooling methods in mass, right? It is definitely motivating some of that. But then they go, well, shit, they're still not buying it. Okay, all right, let's go out this time, and I'll make sure that my mask shows under my collar, okay? All right, now we go out. Now we do a speech, and they're, like, doing this the whole time. Like, get a good shot here. And you can see they're wearing a fucking mask, right? They're a foot taller, whatever. And then they're like, did they buy it? Have they figured it out yet? And then they go, no. They're like, what the fuck? They're like, all right, roll out the Olympic ceremony. And they've got the whole spread out there, you know? It gets more ridiculous on purpose, I think. And I really feel and see this because it drives you to the other option. It drives you to self-reliance so clearly because the other option sucks so much. Why would you continue to participate in that? And it's only going to get crazier. NASA keeps lying to you on purpose. The governments keep lying to you on purpose. Governmente means mind control in Latin. So anything you're seeing there is attempting to exactly what you said in your intro, beautiful intro, perception manage you. And it's to that degree, man. That's why everything sucks. But it's getting so suck on purpose so that you're so motivated to leave it. I really do think that's what it is. But it's a toxic relationship some people are in, man. Govern me harder, daddy. You don't know him like I do. I can keep voting. You don't. I can change him, you know? Guys, pull out, right? You know, there are other communities, and we'll definitely discuss this. But what do you think?
There's some things that I had to pull out of that I thought were going to be beneficial for humanity and more aligned with what we're doing than the lizard turds. But unfortunately, just like so many good movements in our past, they've been infiltrated and they've been co-opted. You have to wonder, especially if you are serious about sovereignty, how many of these spiritual movements are completely soured and tainted because of this infiltration. And it doesn't even have to be a CIA asset doing speeches or podcasts or making movies. All it has to be is a good idea that people latch on to, and it takes on a life of its own, but it leads people in these awful directions. And unfortunately, it seems like, I hate to say it every time I do, but this conspiracy truther community has been almost fully infiltrated at this point with bad ideas. And they're going all these directions. And it's great research sometimes and great points and revelations that we need to know, but then people get trapped in those rabbit holes and they keep going, looking for that ultimate answer, and it's never there. We have just become a community of dogs chasing their tails because of these ideas that have been implanted out there that people just keep chasing, and they're glamorous, and they always have, it's like a carrot on a string. If you find out the answer to this conspiracy, it'll unravel everything and it'll save the world, but it only leads to more conspiracies and more layers and madness, just complete and utter madness. And that's what we're experiencing right now in our little communities. What is the answer to this? Again, it's another layer to check out of and observe from the outside. And I'm not saying that we can't participate in it, that we can't do research, but we can't get sucked into it. We can't become a part of it. You become a part of it, then you're back in the matrix, just a different level that seems to be different, but it's actually more crazy.
Dude, so fucking well said. I'm just loving this so much. I love you, dude. This is so outstanding. Okay, so first what you first said. Mark Passio, the former Satanist, said this. And he knew about the infiltration of the Satanic Order into the spiritualist community to destabilize and disharmonize. And what they did on purpose is add the idea that everybody latched onto, so eloquently said, manifestation. What they said is that if you just sit back and wait, put no action in, be very feminine, wait, be in flow, be a flower, not a bee, 100% of the time, then you will get whatever you want, right? Now, if there's something to that or not, cool. But the aim of it was to destabilize and disharmonize, to remove the masculine, which is the action-based energy, out of that organization. And you know what? It fucking worked. And this is another reason why spiritual bypassing is part of this whole thing, is because it's another, in my mind, Bolshevik revolution cue, sort of just, guys, be passive and wait. Someone else will fix this for you. And in that, we find one of the biggest disharmonies that could ever occur. But to say that there's no value in it is the only place I'll add a note. There's always value in getting fucked over. Because the value in it is you hopefully don't get fucked over in the future, and you don't disregard your boundaries for other people's ideals and concepts. The whole thing about somebody requiring you to go in 100%, and you've got to do, if you don't believe 100% of this, it's never going to work, then fuck off. You know what I mean? I don't believe in 100% of anything. You can go back through my show. I have changed my mind so much in 4 years. It's unreal. It's an ever-evolving process. I say you take what you need from it and you leave the rest. Hitler said some fucking banger shit. I don't agree with everything the dude said, did, but he was on point with a few things, you know what I mean? And to say that everything is this or that and these or those, this is really where I'm at, Chris, with all of this shit. And I'll tie it to the sovereignty thing too, because it's with everything, and I'm doing my best to recognize, observe, and embody is middle way, middle path. This concept of not too much, not too that. The second I sit here and go, oh, I can't eat that because whatever, I never say this, by the way, but if you sit there and go, oh, I can't eat that one cookie or have that one Dr. Pepper because it's going to whatever, not middle path. That's too much whatever, too much Luciferian. And if you're too grounded in things and you can't see a creative solution to stuff, and you won't explore out of boundaries, then that's too Ahriman. These are the two figures on either side of Jesus at the crucifixion. It's those embodiments, because it's metaphoric, essentially. Mm-hmm. So when you take that into consideration, the middle path, okay? This idea of having a fucking cigarette every now and then if you want one. Have a beer every now and then if you want one. It's moderation with shit, but it's not all or nothing. You don't also have to hate yourself for having cookies if you want to have cookies. You don't, but if you want to work out too. Like, all of the options are available. It's sort of the emotion that comes with whatever you're enacting on, that's the cause or the reactive ingredient. So if you feel shitty about doing stuff, it's going to react shittily. If you feel great about doing stuff and empowered, then great. That's the outcome, right? But really, with all of the things that you said, with the groups being infiltrated, with all of that, it has to do with sovereignty and discernment. You've got to figure out what's right for you, when to walk out of a group, when to go, you know what, I agree with these things, but not these things. I don't represent this whole organization because of this one little piece. Good. Take all of that, but not that. Awesome. It's about this. It's an a la carte fucking realm, dude. And you get to pick whatever you want. And that's where the beauty and power in this place is. It's not in the follow this, follow that. That's what got us where we are. But that's all what's changing and what's crumbling down is that system of subservience, And so let's say, for instance, just real quick in the sovereignty path as well, for balance. There are some things that I'm doing as far as process go that I'm very confident in, and my nervous system knows needs to happen. I feel also this is how you get out of the soul trap at a deep level. This has been very spiritual for me. And then there are some parts of it that I have yet to see the value in, even though they're part of the process, and I don't necessarily choose to embody that yet, because I'm doing this for quality of life, which is middle path. I'm doing this to make my life better. These things make my life better. These things, though in the same realm, and yes, could absolutely be possible, don't marry with this concept yet. And it's this middle path that I think is where you get everything. This is really the honest nature of stuff. You're not a piece of shit, but you're not a perfect angel. You're a little bit of both. And you've got to be, man, just to survive. But it's still about shining your light, but not being too fucking swayed one way or another by fucking anything, man. If something goes off in your gut, listen to that. That's on purpose.
Well, this is where we're going to go deep into the woo-woo waters here. Lately, I've been discussing with a few guests the concept of free will and if we truly possess free will as humans, and the ability for these parasites to infringe upon it, not only humans, but seeming other non human intelligences. I was talking about abduction experiences where people 1 minute will be in their beds and the next they at least will completely believe that they're on a spaceship, they're being experimented on, things are being stuck in their butt, and it's a completely a violation to them, as well as some of the other type of human experimentation that's gone on over the years, spraying things on us, chemicals in our food, all these things that seemingly we didn't have a choice, or because obviously we were ignorant to it all. Is this our fault, or has our free will been infringed upon in ways that are completely unnatural? Or is it part of this reality? Are these whatever powers and principalities allowed to completely take over our perception and at times control our thoughts, or at least implant thoughts into our mind? What do you think about that?
I think absolutely yes to all the above. And I think it's for a purpose. I do, like I said, feel this is a distillation process. This is a process of removing crud, but being constantly bombarded by it. Like, think of little gold particles in coal, right? Those little gold particles, as it's being sifted through, are being passed through a shitload of shit before they're realized for what they are, captured and taken away as precious. This is a distillation process, but it's a pressure-induced one. And I feel that it's more of an effervescent one, right? There's, because of the ascension terminology and all of this, the lightness to it, the frequency element of it. But in that process, you've got to be bombarded by a bunch of shit that you're not to know what you are. And the deeper it goes, the deeper the whispers have to be, because you're solving things, you've quit drinking, you're handling a lot of stuff, you've got this. Now, another thing is, I will say to this, is free will in reaction, not in your opportunity to realize, okay? So you have free will in reaction, not your opportunity to realize. You don't get to determine if a bus hits you or not. You get to determine if that bums you out or not. And I know that sucks. I know everybody wants to sit here and go, no, if I'm manifesting, Archangel Michael's got me. Fuck no, dude. A bus will fucking hit you, dude. And something will knock you off a cliff, something like this. You don't, but you can control, your sunny disposition about it. One of the greatest examples of this is astrology. Whether you think you're affected by that shit or not is ridiculous. If you start looking at it, you will see that astrology really puts something in your mind, in your presence, that you cannot ignore. And it does so on purpose because of this distillation process. I sort of now look like a conveyor belt. As you go through linear time, you're sort of on a conveyor belt, and you've got little machines kind of poking you from either side, and then you get a little spray gun that sprays you with hot shit, and you're like, what the fuck is this? But your job is sort of to know that by the end of the thing, you are constructed into this beautiful thing that we call a lifetime, and you have this beautiful thing called an experience. And the better you can take this ride and see it as a ride, the easier it is. Now, sometimes it just fucking sucks, but the part of the ride is so it sucks, so that you can enjoy something else. You're a musician. You know about dissonance in music, right? For the audience's sake, dissonance is where you will play two chords that do not sound well together. They go, and they're like nasty and it's gross, and you're like, please get off of that fucking chord. And then you play a beautiful chord right after it. Now, it does not matter what you play that next chord. It's the best chord anybody's ever heard ever, because the one before it sucks so bad. Now, us as musicians, we do this on purpose. We will put dissonance in, you will put nasty shit in, so that it resolves in something beautiful. And I feel like this is the same thing. It's mirrored all around us in our art and in everything. It's a distillation process, but you've got to be bombarded by shit. No matter how strong you are, it's going to bring you to your knees, because bringing you to your knees is part of the conveyor belt. You needed to be ducked that low to get through the tunnel that was there. You couldn't be standing up for it. And how are we going to tell you that? So we're just going to bring you to your knees. It's a fucking weird process, man. And I would say, like I said, getting to see it as a joke and knowing that if God is here, you're it, and there's nobody definitely going to save you. The things coming in are here to deceive, distract, anything from the air, the principalities, as you spoke of, even in physical, if we amplified as above, so below, anything coming from your head's a fucking liar. Jesus even said, do not bring anything from the head to the heart. Don't take any thought into your heart, because this is where you manifest from. So again, where you react from, emotion, that's what drives this whole thing. And that's what the concept of loosh and all of that stuff. Now, if you deprive them of the loosh, if you just have a better time, if you enjoy yourself more, if you turn the TV off, if you take your kids fishing, if that's the thing, take your dogs to the park, go for more hikes outside, get some more sunlight, all that, the loosh shifts very heavily. And you don't have to preach about what you're doing. Just live what you're doing. It affects the area. Just go be you. But the mental bombardments and things, man, I completely agree with. I've had a voice in my head for months, and I've shared this with you, man, that said, you're going to kill yourself today. Every now and then it makes an appearance, and I just laugh at it now. It's a joke. I don't take it seriously, but I needed to be bombarded with it to know that it's not what I wanted to do, to be really given the choice and option, and be down to one hand on why I should stay. And just live it out of spite some days, but I needed to feel that so that I could move forward and do something else. Now, if we want to talk also about how we learn in this way, I'm not a fan of, okay? But seems to be the deal. And it seems to all be part of one big, I'm going to be honest, joke is what it really is. And I think we all discover that at death, is it's a big fucking joke. But the sooner we can learn that, the better.
Right on. The other day, I think it was Wayne McRoy and I were having a discussion about how technology and some of the dark operations that have been performed on humanity affects the collective synchromistic intelligence that guides things, and how there's a natural synchromistic layer of reality. And as humans, we probably in our ancient past were able to experience this in a much purer sense, I would like to think, and had a better understanding of how to read and communicate back. Well, you fast forward to our modern age, we have this time period of desynthesizing humanity to any spirituality, and the dawning of our technological age, which further embeds us into this layer of false reality that's completely separated from the metaphysical and spiritual. And this continues for decades. And it seems like just recently, within the past decade or so, that this natural synchromistic layer seems to be forcing itself back through our reality in a big way. And I wonder if that's just because it is part of everything. It's part of our consciousness. And the more individuals start to see it and click back with it, the more powerful that field becomes again, and the more it starts to present itself and maybe counter some of the negative synchromistic technological aromatic programming.
Dude, beautifully said. And again, it's middle way, right? It's don't throw your fucking phone out because it's got horrible things on it. It's just know that it's addictive. Nobody's going to do a line of coke getting caught off guard that it's an addictive substance, you know? The thing is addictive. It's designed to be addictive. All the CEOs who create apps and phone companies and Google, they never let their kids have a phone, ever. They don't even let them get online, all of that shit. You can look this up. There's a reason for that. And the silicone-based element to them has always been fascinating to me because of the Arecibo crop circle. Sagan sent out that plaque with the 10 points of what we are, like that we're carbon-based life forms, that we live on this planet that's third away from the sun and all this. Sent that out allegedly into space. We allegedly got an answer back in the form of an Arecibo crop circle that answered all 10 points in the correct order. The little guy that they used had a big bulbous head and big eyes, so it's the typical gray is what they said that their atomic structure was like. Also, they were silicone beings. So if you think about it, maybe the being themselves are in your screens. It's the Black Mirror concept. This is what they're doing with you. And this is why I don't think that you need to get visited by some sort of incubus or succubus in the night anymore, because your phone is presenting those demons to you constantly in the form of loose traps and thirst traps and porn and all that other kind of shit. It's right there. It's all clickable, but also it's removable. You just fucking walk away from it, dude. I don't have notifications turned on anything, so that's one way that I limit it. I'm very mindful about this, but it is a tool, and so I don't believe in abandoning it, you know? I feel that there's a lot of value in taking what's necessary from one without being so swung to fall into it and be consumed by it completely. The way I sort of see this is like a middle. Okay, picture this. You're on a small road that's 2 lanes wide. You're walking it. And on either side of that road, okay, there's 2 ditches, but they go off in infinity. All right. And on one side of the road, there's a red substance. On the left side of the road, there's a blue substance. All right. And you have those 2 things. Now, you can obviously hop in that water and go for a swim anytime in any direction that you want. Maybe there's little things off in the distance that you could swim to. But I'm going on this middle path. But you've got to drink from each side of the water every now and then. So you go to fill your bucket from one, you go to fill your bucket from the other, but know that there are things in there that are going to try and grab you like an alligator and pull you into the water. You still need sustenance. You've still got to operate in this world, but you don't have to do it from a place of fear. You do it from a place of mindfulness. And this comes back to the sovereignty. Gauthier has a quote that is, freedom is an active sport. And so too is your attention. Your attention is your free will, like you said earlier. What you dedicate that to, how you react, how you respond, what you're investing, that precious, the most precious of resources is your attention. In fact, our entire currency is based off of your life force. It's your faith in the system. So your life force energy, your attention is the only reason currency is even a thing, right? So whenever you stop to really boil this down, your attention is what's so necessary. They've designed apps just to hook you. They've got such a collective effort to make you stay on these things, stay on these screens, stay then. But you and I choose to do it to connect people, to say, look, yeah, come listen to us for an hour or so, then go the fuck outside, you know, or listen to us while you're on a walk outside with your dog. Stuff like this. We have such a variety of technology also to where you don't have to be in one space to do it. You can be working out while you do this. You could be learning a new craft while you do this. You can be learning how to solve a Rubik's Cube while you do this. Like all kinds of shit, right? And this is why I put artists on my show. We have a whole creative expansion art series where I will have an artist join us. It was Allison that joined us for your show. She knitted your...
That was great.
Logo. It's stuff like that. You know, that's where my attention's at. And that's what I'm growing in my garden, because that's what you do. You're growing a garden here. They have a bunch of scary fucking thorny plants and shit that are poisonous that you can never eat. And if you eat them, they're nasty and horrible for you. Or are you growing really dope shit like your book, like your film, like your podcast, like, again, a new craft, your family, you know, things like that. Being more self-sufficient. My wife has gone on this crazy kick about things that we like. She'll just make herself now. She's been doing this with like different cookies, crackers, breads, things like this. We've been replacing my coffee creamer. She makes from scratch now. And it's amazing. Condensed milk, little flavor, little vanilla extract. It's incredible. And doesn't have all the fucking preservatives and shit in it. So it's these little things that we start moving into the weight column of our direction and where our attention's been. We also went through and scrubbed all of our subscriptions to stuff. We're down to 4, and 2 of them are for the show. So it's all about your attention, guys, really. That's what I really think.
Right. I think it's also about reconnecting to our own creative skills, and not only that, what we enjoy doing that produces not only for ourselves and our families, but for others, that others can find useful. And that is what our future is going to have to be about, because each and every one of us has that one thing that we can do that somebody else desires, or that other people are going to find useful. Even if it's just for you and your family's going to benefit from that. But there's always more, especially if you can tap into anything that you can do that someone else can't, or that you can do slightly differently that may be desirable for someone else. Like I said, everyone has this ability, and this time period that we're in, it's becoming more and more evident that this is the time for us to tap into that and to start presenting those things to the world, because this is how we're going to be sovereign in the future.
Yes, it's all about your attention, and it's been easily outsourced lately. And I also want to kind of point out that your parents outsourced this just like their parents did and just like their parents did. They hand you the trauma and the coping mechanism at the same time. And again, I feel that this is another part of this distillation process. So I would venture to say that most of the people listening to this are probably your black sheep in your family. You probably have some sort of traumatic childhood growing up and some trauma in your past. And those 3 things brought you here, but it also is the reason you're so exceptional. Again, not a fan of how we learn here, But it seems to be that those combination of things are what produce this outstanding result of somebody who's embodied a wounded healer, like the Chiron element in astrology as well, the wounded healer, somebody that's gotten the shit kicked out of them, but they're really strong and tough, and they stand up for others and teach others how to stand up for them because they've gotten the shit kicked out of them. So it's a bootstrap paradox that you must have been traumatized to then heal others from trauma, that they must also go through themselves, but then they'll be stronger to recognize it. And this is how we sort of amplify and build a little bit more. Now, something that you said, can I share screen real quick?
Oh yeah, let me turn your
All good.
on here. Share.
But it is vitally important to what you said earlier, though, about people being able to recognize their skills and talents and know that it's going to take a combined effort, because now more than ever, and what social media also does is it isolates people and make them feel alone, and it denies others their talents in the physical. So think of, again, I really see everything in this reality as inverted. So if this thing wants you to do that, really, you should use that tool perhaps to do something more empowering in the opposite direction. And this is easy. It's a formula. You can go by it every single time. So if they're wanting you to sit at home and be quiet and not tell everybody that you're an awesome artist or anything like that, or only put your art like that, but never sell it, never show your face, stuff like that, then that's the scarcity small mindset that app wants to keep you bound up and a part of. But what I recognize in our community is we are way more like Voltron, where in the past we were all these individual little things that could do really cool shit, none like the other. We're all similar, but this dude has different powers than this one. This one can do different shit than this one. And together, they make fucking Voltron, dude, you know? But it takes all of them to do it. Now, you know what Red Lion's not doing? He's not bitching at the yellow one for being a shitty left leg. He's just being the fuck out of a right arm. And the whole point of this now and why and how we're going to be more powerful is if our right and left leg can just be the fuck out of these things and not be concerned about what the head's doing, what this other arm's doing, making sure the cannon's going to fire. That's not your job. Your job is to be the fuck out of what interests you, what you're passionate about, what your skills are, and what you love, and what lights you up. That's your job, is to be the fuck out of that and be it authentically. Because the more you're like this, the less confusing it is for us to say, hey, are you an arm? Are you a leg? What are you doing? Oh, you're coming at the speed you're coming. Shit, I've got a bot. We've got a perfect receiver spot for that cannon of you right there on the shoulder, dude. It's going to fucking set this thing off. Maybe your sword that comes in. The analogy is there. But what I'm saying is it takes all of these fucking things to realize that they were beautiful and wonderful before. They've all got individual characteristics. They've worked on skills themselves. They've all built themselves up, gotten through the trauma, and then we can form this badass thing. And that's what we're doing now. I really see this as this level up in community to where we all realize the shit out of who we are and then just be the fuck out of that. And it gravitates those in your tribe. Your vibe attracts your tribe. And now is the time to do all of that. And it's empowering as shit, man. I mean, really, because you don't have to be bombarded with shit. You really don't. You just turn it off. Move on.
Right on. I want to explore something you were saying about how trauma affects people and people who are aware. Of course, it can be weaponized. We've all heard about the MK Ultra experimentation and how trauma is utilized to create altars and all these horrible things. But it can also send a person on a path that is very powerful for that person. I've heard that even a traumatic birth can trigger this conscious ability in a very young person, more so than they're already aware, to where they may see spirits, they may be able to communicate with other intelligences, psychic abilities, not only, from traumatic births, but traumatic experiences growing up. It's very interesting to me how this can also trigger these conscious abilities, the ability to perceive things that normal people can't. And I think that this is something that can be used and be very beneficial for humanity if it were studied in a way that we could harness and use for humanity's benefit. In a sense, instead of intentionally traumatizing somebody so that we can make them a serial killer or an assassin, use it to benefit that person's lives and know that they're going to be aware, because honestly, trauma is unavoidable in a human experience in most cases, unless you grow up in a bubble or a rubber room. But to be able to utilize those natural traumatic experiences to enhance this human experience and to open up your perception, that would be something else. And I think that could be very beneficial and maybe be studied a little bit.
Dude, we're going to take it to the whiteboard. So if you guys are not joined the video version of this yet, come on over because we're going to do something here real quick. This is something, dude, that I've been obsessed over, okay? And we're not going to call me a flat earther. We're going to call me a critical thinker because that's what I am. One of the things that I've been just absolutely fascinated about in this realm earth idea is, let's say that this is our plane of existence, okay? And we're just going to do a very quick outline of this. Now, I don't necessarily think it stops there. I really do see this as more of a pill or two sides of a brain, if you will.
One-eyed ninja.
Hemisphere. Yeah, one-eyed ninja. There you go. So we have our land masses here that we are told are here, whatever. You have the snake running around the outside, which would be the Ouroboros. I'm not going to do a very good snake because, again, we're going to do this very, very quickly. There's your little snake, and he's eating his tail. Okay, that's the alleged ice wall. Now, if we look at the concept here then of the sun, the moon, and I'll just denote that this way.
Yeah.
Then we have the idea of the Masonic symbol, and this is just something I think is very interesting, is that there's a black sun, allegedly, under all of this, and Maxwell talks about this, a lot of people talk about this, that this is the black sun and the black hole sun that then powers this, and then there's an opening, allegedly, at the pole star up here, but that's not important. Well, it is important. We'll talk about that in a second. So if you take this model and this concept, then you could say that the people on the land here that we call people, which are us, are stuck in a realm. We are in a system, and we don't know what it is. It may be powering something. This may be an energetic power pack for something. These zones are off limits. The poles are completely off limits to us, what we're told are the poles. There may be no south, just saying. And in that case, then we have the symbolic nature of the compass and the square. This then makes me think what that deal is that you talked about a minute ago, the permeating force of spiritual mysticism, right? What was it?
Synchromysticism. Yeah.
Synchromysticism. Thank you. Yes. Yeah. With that being the synchromysticism side would be down here. Okay. Everything down here is what we would call the afterlife, what we would call ghosts, what we would call the engine, the AI, the everything that runs everything. And it's sandwiched right up on the butt side of us. So from its perspective, if we're looking upside down, its creatures are on the underside of this thing. Now, let's say maybe also that the map mirrors it directly, that the landscape, that the map is the territory on the other side. Australia over here is Australia on the underside as well. And that what happens on the underside powers the top side, and what happens as a reaction from what's happening under to the top powers everything. Now, in this model, you have a little people over here on this continent being scared shitless by all sorts of mythologies and tulpas and things that they have been told exist in this realm, and they are powered from underneath. Now, this can either be flown out, you've got all the access through water points, you have all of this. Now, I think also this is what fucking UFOs are and shit. I think it's all deceptive and for a reason. I think it's deceptive and a piece of shit, but I think it's for a reason. Now, again, I think that this place, it scares the shit out of you. You react and feed the fuck out of it, okay? And in the form of all of our horrible things that we do, plus fear reactions that we have, it all gets leached down and then powers this, which then powers this. So what's the answer to the chicken and the egg here? What's the answer? Do we stop getting scared? Does the thing stop? Well, we know that our fear is what powers all the scary shit. Now, one could also say, what if this engine just creates whatever we're thinking about? And maybe this is what manifestation is. There is something to it that if we just shift the way that we react and our priorities and what we're focused on and what our energy is feeding, what wolf we're growing, maybe this changes. And maybe this black hole sun can create a paradise up here. And maybe that's what all the Tartarian shit was. And this could all be cyclical too, guys, that you just chose to come here and do this during Satan's little season, as it's referred to in the Bible, all of that. But every time you put out Loosh or something like that, you have some nasty goblin monster that's over here just loving the shit out of it. And it's ironic that I put it on the moon there. You've got some monster just sucking your loosh, and it loves it. And it's coming from down here. But again, if you were to shift your focus and say, I'm not going to react that way, I'm going to take a few deep breaths, I'm not going to feed it this, I'm going to vent it creatively and alchemize it into my creative projects, into painting, starting my podcast, knitting, guitar, whatever, growing my family in my garden, instead of siphoning it off to a TV or to an idea or a concept or a principality, right? This may be the key. Maybe you just shut this off. The system must change. So either way, this is sort of how I see it. And if my little ass is over here, I am not feeding that system. I have realized that my attention is powerful, and what I focus it on is what grows. So I've chosen not to focus it out here, which is where all this shit's coming from, by the way. It's coming from out and in, because I sort of see another layer around this also that's accessible by like the whole thing, like a runway, right? But this is just how I visualize sort of the energetic exchange here. But what it does produce is folks like us. And what that produces is a distillation process, which is where the pole star may come in. Because maybe there's another realm up here that you and I and folks like us that can escape the soul trap, if you want to just put it in that terminology. And we get to go to a new level. And maybe this realm is something completely different, and it's got 2 suns and like 2 black hole suns, and it's even more crazy, and there's warlocks and shit. And then once you thousands of years figure that out, you go to another one, and then maybe you zoom out of that and it's your entire chakra system of the thing that you're in right now. And really cleaning your chakras was about you living lifetime after lifetime under these conditions so that you could figure out that you're an awesome person and that you don't need to do that anymore.
Right on, man. I love that. And again, for those that were listening on audio, if you want to see the amazing artwork of Brandon Thomas that represents what we were just discussing, it is on there. And it's a great representation. Hey, I followed every single creature and sun and figure that you drew.
Thank you. It's fun.
Yeah, man.
But if you look at it like this explains why things are subjective. This would say that there's a fog that permeates to your soul narrative that would say, when you see this code pop up in reality, it's an angel to you, it's an alien to you, it's a Bigfoot to you, so based on what you think, the fog will animate as anything. A challenging spouse. Because if you don't believe in freaky woo-woo, it's still, other things are going to show up to cause the same suffering results or the same whatever's in you. It'll figure out a way to get to you until you just see that you're being bopped from either side and just figure out how to get your balance, like square yourself up, right?
Well, that would answer some questions, especially when it comes to what we're experiencing with the UFO phenomena and quote-unquote disclosure. Everything we've been programmed to believe about UFOs. If what you're saying is the way the mechanics of this works, we've been feeding it with our fears, with what we believe in it. And of course, there's probably exotic technologies involved, deceptions from the lizard people to keep that energy flowing in and out. But I wonder to what extent that power can manifest, because I've had my strange quote-unquote experiences, but never anything like an alien in front of me or a UFO or me seeing a Bigfoot, anything that powerful or seeing anything that clearly, at least. Although I know many people who have, I also know just as many people who haven't, and they do believe in these things. They are interested and they immerse themselves in this world, but they still won't have any of those experiences. That's very interesting how those mechanics work to me.
I think you don't need it. I used to be so bothered by this, dude. And you've studied the phenomena and hadn't had the interactions you would like to have, or the stories we hear all the time, and you're like, fuck, man, I would have asked him this, or I would have said this. I would have driven the UFO over here. You know, those things, right? But we don't get contacted. And you end up feeling like, some little picked last for basketball kind of kid, right? You're like, why the fuck won't anything talk to me? Like, what's wrong with me? But I now see it as a superpower, honestly. Because again, of what we said, the more intense the principality, the more off or the greater the opportunity for a new direction you have, is how I'll put it. And if something is really getting out at you, it's getting your attention in some way, and it's going to redirect. Now, not all of these are bad. Not all of these are like, oh, I run the other way and all of that. No, I think missing time is one of these. I think missing time is one of these soft core gateway elements into the phenomena, because if you miss 3 hours of your life, but there's nothing traumatic that you can recall, it's going to get your inquiry motor going, and this has led a lot of people down a lot of interesting paths. Something you said earlier about influencers misleading and all the weird information. Some of them do it on purpose, and I don't disagree with you at all, Bubba. And the misleading information and the non-thought out certainties that people are so certain this is what's going on, and I'm going to tell you and find out tonight at 9, and it's a continuing thing, so make sure you subscribe and like and all that. Mm-hmm. That is, I think, I call those sticks of dynamite. And the deal with, and there's plenty of them in the sovereignty community as well. Sticks of dynamite, get your head turned, and you go, what was that? And then you'll head in the direction, maybe. Or it'll scare you too much and you'll run off. And those are both, though, valuable because it's either going to push you, they're redirects. It's either going to push you in one way or the other. It's just the way that knowledge works. Once you learn something, you can't unlearn it. You can forget shit, but not unring a bell. And when something like this rings a bell in your life, you can't unring it. You will follow it, and it will change you. And all of it's necessary, the bad, the good, all of it. It's important, though, to realize that you do have control over it. So at some point, when the archangel's telling you that you should sell all your stuff or you should whatever, and you're not comfortable with that, tell the archangel you're not comfortable with that. Again, middle path. Don't commit 100% to any of this shit. Go living with Bigfoot and shit. Just enjoy it. Again, just think of it like an amusement park. And, oh, wow, look over on your left. There's a fucking Bigfoot, and that's cool. And then it'll change the way you look at life, because what it offers you the opportunity to do is critically think the narratives that you've been fed about our rigid reality. And maybe it's not so. Mandela Effect's one of the great one of these, because maybe it's not so, man, I remember this, and I remember it too. You do too? So are we misremembering, or is our reality fluid? It makes you ask these really cool questions. And this is what I love about where we are right now, as ridiculous and bombarded we are with ridiculous information. It seems that some of it, and there's just so much chaff going off, so many sticks of dynamite where, air quotes, the muggles or the normies are now going, holy shit, I've just got to look. Oh my God, these coworkers are all talking about it now. I didn't think my boss thought this way, but now I've got to look into it. And then they're going to discover, they're going to go through their own middle way process of going too far into something and going, and backing out. And then going way too far over here and backing out and being too scared to make the moves that they need. But that's their new opportunity too. It's a whole fucking thing, man. And you know this. I'm not upset with any information that's out, because I think it carves your discernment, man. And this is a rough place to fuck around and find out. And the faster you learn that, the better. And you're going to get fucked over many, 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 many times until you learn that. And even when you learn that, you're going to get fucked over, so that you can recognize it and go, what did I just, it'll still confuse and baffle, but you get better. You do better. You really do. And it's just about asking questions, guys. That's it. It's just, if something doesn't feel right or you have a question, never feel intimidated to where you can't. And anything that makes you feel like that, you don't want to work with. You don't want any part of it. Anything that can't be scrutinized or will answer a question, especially the aliens or the archangels and shit, fuck them, man. Tell them to eat a dick.
It does kind of seem like a learning experience, in a sense that whatever these powers and principalities are, the desired goal is for us not to rely on them anymore, not to have to ask them questions. We just have the answers. We know automatically what's right, how to live in harmony with ourselves and the world, and we don't have to ask an archangel or an alien or rely on a politician or a quote-unquote expert to tell us what to do and how to do it. And it reminds me of the biblical story of Abraham and the angel telling him to sacrifice his son, and at the last minute he's like, no, don't sacrifice your son. It was just a test.
Just kidding, bro.
Just kidding. Yeah, so maybe we shouldn't be relying on the information of these psychotic entities, and just trust that we're doing the right thing because it's just the right fucking thing to do,
Bring me any god, entity, or anything that you would rather trade places with. I'll wait. Any of them. Do you find that you embody all of the elements of Saturn, the Saturn god? Because he was kind of a piece of shit. Yeah, he's got time on his side, but he ate his kids. Do you want to eat kids as a trade-off? They have these compulsions. They have these human qualities, but they're so far beyond what any real human would embody, hopefully. And they're so ridiculous that why would you ever want to ascribe to be that? And then people will pander down to this. I feel... And I'm just going to fucking say it, that the Bible's one of these. The God in the Bible, I don't think is the God. I think that's Satan, and God is here is in us, and we are that, creating in this eternal moment of now, and maybe there is no future. Maybe there is only now. What we're creating is the highest point in any timeline, and we get things that come back from, air quotes, the future to tell us all kinds of shit. But again, How do you verify? How do you validate? They usually come to one or two people. It's not common knowledge. It's not innate. And that's the other thing too, is innateness is very, very big. And you could feel this when somebody's telling you a story. You're like, just, and it's beyond some thinking thing. It's a feeling, it's a knowing. And whenever you really sit down and look at all these, again, gods, goddesses, archangels, all this stuff, they like rape people. They fucking eat their kids. They're shitty to their spouses. They're just not good parents. They're not anybody I would embody or idolize at all. I don't want anything to do with any one of them. God, Satan, any of it. I think the Bible was written, however you want to say it, by something horrible. He was like, oh, God, nobody likes me. And then he went on this media campaign, this reimagining, what do they call it, a personality upgrade, with the Jesus thing. Hey, I'm going to send this kid in. I'm going to kill him, which is still fucking weird. You're going to eat his body and drink his blood. That's cool. But then I'm going to be cool for you guys later on. He could have just, again, done this the entire time. But I find the narratives interesting and the psychology behind outsourcing anything. And this is really what sovereignty is about, even though most of it's based on God's law. Maybe this leads me to God. I don't know. But really the way I'm at right now is I don't want any of it. Like I'm out of all of it. This is why, again, I don't feel like I'm contacted. It's because things can't live up to my scrutiny and they just fucking know that. And I'm cool with it. Good. Don't fuck with me. I'd rather be, it's sort of like the Mark Twain quote. If you read the newspaper, you are misinformed. And if you don't read the newspaper, you are uninformed. I'd rather be uninformed because the only thing you're informing me of is bullshit and lies and something that you want to, that's something that's going to benefit you, not my true goals and my what my soul really wants here. But you've got to be exposed to those things to know that that's not what your soul wants, and that really what your soul wants is sovereignty and to be able to make your own decisions and govern yourself and not be fucking lied to constantly and given two shitty options of this shit or a little bit less shit. And neither, man, Right. And there is another option.
I love it, man. That is a beautiful note to end on. Brandon, fantabulous discussion as usual. Before we close out, anything you got going on that you'd like to let the beautiful audience know about?
I do indeed, and I'm going to just real quick share screen one more time for the video version here. The folks that I've been, there's Voltron, come on. The folks that I've been hanging out with most lately and what has got my attention and I am absolutely obsessed with are these two folks you can find on my show called Bree Divine and Joe Lustica. It's episode 304, Thriving in Honor, Steps Along the Sovereign Path. Now, this episode was a while back. I've got them booked to come on. Yeah, this is 3 months ago. I've got them booked to come back on here very, very soon. But there's a link in this show description where you guys can join our trust community for 10% off your first month. So this is what I've been obsessed with. It's ran by two people, Bree Divine and Joe Lustica. And I am well on my way here to achieving many goals. I've got a whole list here of things that I've been checking off and doing. My E-Verify, not a voter, assume name certificate, my revocation of election, my passport status. I've already got a Treasury Direct account. We're buying bonds now. And doing all sorts of interesting things with trusts and getting out of all kinds of shit. This is where the power comes from. If you think about also, just one more note on this, yes, we do want communities and we are moving out, but you may look at some of these farmers that have been getting shut down because they're selling raw milk and stuff and the government is coming in and shutting them down for that. Amish even communities. Now, there are reasons why that happened, but one of the biggest ones that it motivated farmers to start PMAs. Private membership associations. And what that allows them to do is not only not pay taxes and getting that a bunch of bullshit, but it allows them to sell goods and services to their heart's content. You have the right to contract with anyone you want in any way. There are ways to do it. So it's not oppression across the board. Just like every single thing we've been talking about here, it's opportunity across the board, and you start where your pain is. And that's the advice in this. Is it banking? Cool. Go with the trust community. Is it where you're just done paying fucking income tax because you know it's voluntary? Good. Start there. Revocation of election. Do you want to change your status? Cool. Start there. There's many paths to freedom, but take the first fucking step. That's really the only advice I've got.
Awesome, man. I love it. I love it. Love you too, brother. And we'll definitely be doing this again soon. One more time, let the audience know where they can find you.
Yeah, anywhere, guys. Anywhere podcasts are served. The Patreon's where it's at. Expanding Reality. Go over there, sign up for free. Get the stuff without ads because YouTube throws ads on there, and I throw everything up there. So just go check that out. Thank you so much, dude. This was so much fun. Love you, Chris. Y'all let your fucking host here know how badass he is. Send him a little message. Send him a little love, saying, "Man, we love you." because he's
Oh,
fucking
man.
crushing it. What a legend.
We love you too, brother. You are the badassiest of badasses. And like I said, we'll be doing this again. You have a wonderful rest of your week. And until next time, everyone have an excellent evening. We'll talk again tomorrow.